are listening to the Metal Summit, your source for all things rock and roll.
Cool. Welcome one, welcome all you metal summoners, all those people that we love so much. Thank you so much for spending your Wednesday night, as usual, right here, climbing the mountaintop all the way up to the Metal Summit. I'm your host, Jay, along with my co-host, Jason, my co-host, Angel. We are happy, as always, to have you guys here, but enough about us. Let's welcome in our guest for this evening. We appreciate them taking their time, as always. We've got Ryan, we've got Amir from the great Julien-K. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Absolutely, man. We really appreciate you guys taking the time out again on your evening to spend it with us for sure. And we'll jump right into it. First and foremost, how's everything been going for you guys over the last few months? Because you were gearing up for a tour with Birthday Massacre when all the sadness kind of hit. So talk a little bit about that, maybe what you know about a potential for that tour, but more importantly, just how have you been passing the time over the last 5 months?
You want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So it was a pretty huge blow. The Birthday Massacre Julien-K tour was a monster. I mean, we were selling some of the important dates out. We were adding more shows. We were looking at adding dates in the middle. For Julien-K, it was the culmination of maybe years of work that we've been trying to get this band to become a real touring force, and to go out with a Birthday Massacre Julien-K ticket and have it sell so well was a really big deal for us. We also had an Edema tour, which was a new metal revival tour, which is a really big tour that was selling really well. And we had a Julien-K headlining package that we were putting together that no one knew about. So we had 3 full tours, on the books. And it was going to be the biggest year that I think that we've ever had in Julien-K. I think that we were going to make more money than we've ever made, and have more of a reach and a success and interaction with our fans than we've ever had. And when the COVIDs hit, we were shipping our Indiegogo perks at Amir's house, and Fu, our bandmate who lives in Vancouver, was really quickly figuring out that he needed to get the fuck out of America. Right. I mean, he's just like, I get the fuck out of here.
They were going to close the border.
Yeah, they were going to close the border, and I didn't know that I believed that, but he was like, dude, I gotta get home. This is getting dangerous, And while we were kind of folding and we ship all the clothes and items that we sell on our Indiegogo campaigns ourselves. We film a lot of it. We use it for promo. We're shipping thousands of items. It's kind of a funny thing. We take Amir's house and we fuck the entire house up. We make it like a warehouse, like IKEA of Julien-K merch. And we have a little assembly line, and we hand ship all of the fucking items that people buy. And we're talking $60,000 worth of fucking items. It's a lot of shit. And during that little process of folding shit and packing them and going, meticulously going through labeling and mailing and dumping boxes, crates of boxes off at the post office, we came up with this realization and idea that all this touring and everything we built is going to end. And it's going to end in the next 4 days. And we started getting really touch and go, on the phone with the agent, on the phone with the Birthday Massacres, on the phone with everyone involved, and kind of not knowing what's going to happen. And my brain was really turning, trying to figure out, what are we going to do for our business? How are we even going to be a band? We have overhead regardless of whether or not we go play. And we also just bought, fuckload of merch for these tours, quite a bit of shit.
Actually, we had the most merch that we've ever made for a tour. I went crazy. I had all kinds of stuff, all kinds of new stuff. We were super excited about bringing, because normally we have, the music, and then we'll have 4 or 5 items.
Mm-hmm.
I think we probably had about 10 items this time, plus all the music. And this would have been the debut of the new album as well.
Yep.
For people.
It was right as the album was coming out.
Yeah, so people would have been able to buy that.
I like Disruptor.
So we were pumped and ready to do more than we've ever done, really, on this tour. But Ryan got the genius idea that, you know what, we better start a Patreon or do something right now because, you know, all of this it's not going to happen. So he started working on the Patreon like pretty much right away. And when did we launch that? Like within...
I mean, it was like under 2 weeks that we kind of...
No, wait, March.
It was just before I went into rehab.
Right, which was, I don't even remember which
I went into rehab.
April, right?
I went into rehab.
Was that? God,
I think May 4th.
Like the beginning of the month, right?
Yeah, and we launched.
I think we launched it a couple weeks before.
Yeah, like a week or two before, maybe.
Yeah.
Because so we launched like a week or two before, but we had to figure out a way to engage with our fans, knowing that these tours were going to go away, knowing that we had $10,000 spent on like merchandise alone. We all have new equipment, new gear to do this tour. We have 24 fucking lights now in our show, like that we own. We bought this shit. We have computer, you know, shit being programmed, and now all of it's sitting in a warehouse. Hi.
Wow.
Well, what are we going to do? And then we also own restaurants. Well, guess what also got closed? And we have other businesses as well that were also not happening, and it was bad news. And so we came up with the Patreon idea, and we got fucking dirty quick. We got quick and fucking dirty, super detailed, created a whole new, you know, flow chart and reorganization of our business, redid our merch store, created a new album campaign, which we haven't launched yet. And we launched our Patreon, and we put a ton of thought into all of it. We created some really good events that we imagined that we would do every weekend. And we started turning this studio into like a streaming studio with different cameras. You know, we have cameras in funny places because we're not always doing a podcast from this angle, but it's set up to where we can do these events in here, live acoustic covers, where our fans vote on what song they are. We do decode radio sessions where I decode and break down like what, you know, our biggest songs with, you know, a ton of fans on a Zoom call. We're working on it fuckers where Amir gets into the technical aspect of how we do what we do. And we really, really quickly created like a streaming cinema camera environment in the studio. And we created a Patreon that would allow us to do things with our fans every week. And it fucking worked. It totally fucking worked. Our fans are amazing. They're fucking amazing. And right now, we haven't really promoted the Patreon in the way that we could or should. We haven't gone to the, you know, 600 plus people that support us on Indiegogo campaigns. We haven't even sent them an email. We only have 150 people. It's just the core people. And it's been so successful that, you know, if we keep doing what we're doing, we may end up in a place where maybe the tour's lost so much money, there's no way to make that up, but we may actually still be able to cover the overhead of just doing this band as if we went on those tours. Now, it doesn't make up for losing the people that work with us, and there's tons of things that happen, right? It doesn't pay for all the merch that got purchased, all that kind of stuff, but it's such a huge thing for us that our fans will support us in a subscription-based type of business and an experiential type of business that it's just changed our entire lives. And now our entire workflow is gearing more and more towards this kind of, you know, interaction. And we'll just keep doing this even when we're touring. We'll continue doing all the stuff from my studio and sharing live music sessions with them and interactive sessions and all that kind of stuff. And we'll do the touring and releasing albums. And that, I think, is our new business model. Been fucking incredible.
Absolutely, for sure, man. And Ryan, you touched base on it, you know, and earlier, just while you were talking about when you were launching everything. But just how are you feeling, like, physically? Because you did take that time, you know, to get everything handled on yourself with your health and everything. How are you feeling?
I'm good. It's taken a long time, though. You know, it's been almost 100 days since I've had a drink, and that's a big deal. I've never had 100 days without a drink in 28 years. So that's big. I would say it's like coming out of rehab for me was like coming out of prison or a hospital with no, you know, everything hurts. Everything is weird. Everything's kind of hard. I was having a lot of trouble singing. I'm still having a little bit of trouble, but doing the edema show and this Julien-K show has helped me get some of my chops back. But I think that your body just isn't used to being dry. It's not used to not living in a swimming pool of liquor. And it's just it's really hard, but I'm noticing a pretty big difference now when you get past like the 90-day mark. I'm becoming more in control of my body. I'm becoming more in control of my mind. And that was, it's a little scary when you get sober and you've drank for so long and it's so much of how you're used to dealing with the world, that when you come out and everything's more difficult, like your motor functions aren't the same, your coordination is even off, your ability to put thoughts together is off, your emotions are off. You might overreact to some things, underreact to some things, because you're used to the one thing you can count on every day, and that is the feeling of having that first glass of wine. You know what I mean? For me, it was like Sauvignon Blanc. I would drink bottles a day, but I was totally good on it. And it's just very odd for me or weird for me to learn how to be good, without it. But I think it's happening. I'm starting to feel more like me again. And it's kind of cool I'm in the habit of not going to the refrigerator and pouring a bottle of wine every, day, or 2 bottles or 3. That's unique for me.
For sure. No, absolutely, man. And I mean, but besides, us here on the show, and of course all your fans out there, so many people, love you and have your back and support you and Amir and the band in general and stuff. So that's great to hear about you, man. Because the fact of the matter is, your health still has to come first.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. And the fans have been amazing. Amir's been amazing. When I decided to do it, we had things going on. We just dropped the Patreon. We had live performances we had to tape. I was so fucked up. It took me a fucking week to record one song for a live performance. I was losing it that badly. And it was brutal. And but he supported me through it, and the guys were super cool, and our fans were amazing. I actually announced that I was going into rehab on Patreon on a live acoustic session, and for our for Patreon first, because we tell everyone on Patreon first. And they've been amazing, and everyone was super cool, and the support was no one quit their Patreon accounts because we weren't doing a ton while I was in there. They stuck with us through it, so I love them very, very much. I don't think I could have done it without that.
Gotcha. No, absolutely. Jason, let me kick it over to you, brother.
Yeah, hey guys. Congratulations, Ryan, on 100 days. That's
Thank you.
An awesome feat. So if you two weren't in music, is there anything? What would you be doing now? Is there any other direction that you would go, or?
Well, I mean, it's still all kind of related. I have a lot of electronic background stuff, so I mean, I could be in kind of any technical field probably. I've even joked that I should probably be an IT guy. But yeah, I mean, probably anything technical, or maybe even film or something like that. I mean, which is there's definitely a relation, I guess, or to that. Photography, stuff like that.
It's all
visual
stuff you kind of still do.
Yeah,
though.
it's all stuff I do anyway. But
Yeah.
I mean, when you just take music away, I mean, there would have to be some sort of technical thing, some sort of art of some sort, whether it be photography or filming or something. I think would probably be happening if music didn't exist.
I was a hairdresser before the bands got popular, and I played in a band at night and tried my best to become popular. But I was a pretty successful hairdresser, and you make a lot of money doing hair if you do it the right way. And I probably would still be doing hair. And I'm not sure if we didn't have the success that we had, that I would understand how good I am at some of the other stuff. I'm actually pretty good at business development, all the kind of stuff that helps, make things make money. I seem to be kind of good at it. I don't know how much of that I would have known. I mean, I don't know, maybe I would have owned my own salon by this point, I don't know. But it seems like with both Amir and I, we still do so many other things. We are the managers of our band. You know, we are the business managers of the band. We are the accountants of our band. We are the attorneys and the lawyers of our band. We actually handle a lot of the lower grade legal shit. We just got a booking agent recently. And by the way, thank God, because it's so great to have someone else do something. You know, it's fantastic. We've got a great agent who's getting us awesome shit, and he's super involved, and we love him. His name's Chuck Bernal. But before that, we were doing all that as well. So we do, you know, if you took music out of it and I didn't have to be a lead singer and he didn't have to be an everything, he'd probably be a very well-known, and he is already a well-known producer and technical guy. I mean, it's like, we really do all the stuff that we probably would do without music. We just apply it to our music and our business.
Very cool.
Oh, that's super duper.
I need a haircut. It's been a while. So when you have time.
Yeah, sure.
Oh man.
Brian, do you do the haircuts for the guys in the band?
I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I have 4 clients and none of them pay me. I'm down to 4. I was gonna do in my house here that any of the noise you hear in the background outside the studio is my house, and I'm getting parts of it. Well, I'm getting almost the whole thing redone right now. And I built like out in the front area right out here, I put like a full-on hair area. Like I put a beautiful mirror in. I got like one of my favorite chairs. They're like Herman Miller chairs, like really fucking cool technical chairs. And I put a shampoo bowl out back in this like kind of grassy like garden area. And I was thinking that I would do like hair secretly for like a fuckload of money and call it the Solo Project. And just like do like a day a week, because I used to enjoy doing it so much, and you can make a lot of money doing it. And the cool thing about doing hair is you do someone's hair and they're happy afterwards. With so much of the shit that we do in business, it takes forever. No one's happy afterwards. You get sued. You get, you know, it's I kid. We're happy, but it's very messy.
Sure.
You know, the stuff we do never gets done.
The music business is a very messy business.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, hasn't really gotten too much better.
No.
It's just like the piles of money just shift to different conglomerates, right? It just becomes a different monster that, you know, that's out there, you know, and it's like it's very tricky. I mean, we do a lot of stuff, and some of it goes great and some of it goes really bad. You know, I mean,
thank God most of it goes well. We're good at managing the downside. Yeah. Like we try to do things, we try to take risks, but I think that we kind of almost pathologically try to manage the downside. We try to manage, okay, if this doesn't work, how fucked are we? Yeah. You know, we try to manage the fuckery.
We usually go into it knowing like, all right, well,
we could get fucked.
Yeah. This is, if this goes completely off the rails, this is what's going to happen, and we can assimilate it.
Yeah.
It's worth the risk, and it's worth it for us to be able to, like, say, play in another country that we've never played, because we want to play for those fans. We want to meet the people. We want to enjoy being there, probably even more than anything. Just being able to go new places and take in the culture, right? And there's always a risk whenever you're dealing, you know, with different types of companies and people. You don't always know. We're not always protected. You know, we're not in a position. We're not in a superpower position. We're not Live Nation. We're not some huge company that could completely squash you if you didn't do what they wanted you to do. You know, we have to take those risks to make small gains sometimes, and sometimes it's amazing. It works great, and other times we get great things out of it. But you know, some bad shit happens. Mm-hmm. Something goes off the rails. So we take the good with the bad. We make it all work.
Absolutely, 100%. Angel, let's hear from you, my friend, and also let's hear from those fans that we love so much.
Well, we get to the fans first. Leo Neal from France, thank you for joining us. Well, we know it's 3 a.m. out in France, so you're staying up with us. Thank you. So I'm going to read Lee's question. If you have to put a label to describe the sound of the band to someone who does not know the band, what would that be?
That's a hard one. We struggle with this all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of weaved in and out of so many different things. We're always kind of trying things. I guess we're one of those kind of bands that isn't, like, well, we did one thing and that's all we're going to do. We kind of like to try stuff. It's like whatever gets us excited. So a lot of that style, it changes. It can change from album to album. I mean, you listen to our new album and then maybe you listen to our second album, We're Here With You, and it's just like, you probably almost think it's two different bands. I mean, it's so different. That was a much more, I think we were calling the style when we were doing We're Here With You was like indie-tronic or something, is what we were calling ourselves. But, the new album is back to those, industrial rock roots, basically, But, I mean, we have dark wave roots, we have new romantic roots, new wave, industrial, electronic, indie. It's kind of like, I don't know, there's a lot of bands like this now, though. There's a lot of cool bands, like even that band Health, which they kind of weave in and out of so many different things. I mean, what are they exactly? I actually really enjoy it when you can't really put a stamp on what a band is doing. I enjoy that challenge of, trying different things. But there's also the great thing about, when you have a band like AC/DC, you know what you're going to get. Every record that comes out from AC/DC, you know what's happening. Angus is coming out in his schoolboy suit, and he's going to be playing an SG, and there's going to be 3 chords, and, pretty simple drum beat, and a lot of screaming going over the top of it, every record, and it's awesome, I think for us, I don't know why, but we kind of move around. We're always kind of trying things. We're always kind of, I guess we have the wanderlust or whatever. We're always just trying to kind of do something new and surprise our fans. And luckily our fans really like it. They don't always like everything we do, but I think they enjoy the ride, that they know that, like, well, what's the next record going to be like now, And a lot of times we don't even know. It's like we kind of go into something, we always kind of have an idea, and then it ends up like, it's like got its own mind of its own, It just kind of, when it starts going, we go, that's what it is, and we're going that way, and we'll see what happens, see what people think of it. It's, I guess it's a very kind of artistic approach to it. There isn't, we don't try to be anything. We don't try to be on the radio. We don't try to necessarily fit in, honestly, most of the time, which works against us sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot, actually, because people love to just pigeonhole and say, well, if you can't fit with that, then what are you,
It makes it hard for touring.
Yeah.
It makes it hard for, being on playlists, and all the new ways things work is by classification.
Yeah.
And when you defy classification, it just makes it pretty tricky. But, with that being said, we are in a modern time where bands like Health, which is a really good example of like hip hop, weird heavy metal, and then like fucking indie washed out shoegazer shit.
Yeah, and
it's
industrial.
And it's totally
like,
good.
Yeah.
And people,
somehow it all works.
Yeah, people get that. So I think that you can still be weird and it can work.
Yeah, I mean, at the root of it, I think we are a bit weird in what we do. I mean, obviously, if you've heard Orgy, and there wasn't a lot of hit songs in what we were doing. It was quite weird, and a lot of people. I mean, honestly, I was really surprised that people got it as well as they did. Yeah, I never really thought they would. I mean, we were really just trying to be kind of pretty fucking weird.
Yeah.
And somehow it. I mean, obviously, with a cover like Blue Monday, that was a huge help. I mean, it probably wouldn't have happened without that, honestly. But that's sort of what we are. We are, we're kind of weird. I'm definitely weird. I'm always trying like really odd things and using weird things and running them through weird things and doing whatever I can to make something unique.
Cool. We also got Zachary Lowe, who says congrats on the 100 days. And Zachary also has a question. I met you guys for the first time during the first tour. Ryan did. Your connection with the fans is amazing. What are some of the most memorable gifts you've gotten, and why was it memorable? I guess gifts from the fans.
We've got something up here. Hold on, I'll show you. That's a really cool painting that a fan did based on our album art.
Yeah, our first album.
Yeah, our first album, Death to Analog. That's really, really cool. I got a really, really cool painting back here of Wolfgang. I don't know if you guys can see it. Shoot. Yeah, it doesn't look like you can see it. We've gotten some really good art, paintings, all that kind of stuff. We've got a guy named Don VK who gave me a painting that actually was back here, but we kind of redid the studio. So his painting now is in a different studio. We got
switch cameras.
we got this.
We got this in the UK when we went over there from a fan.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really cool Dead by Sunrise Chester kind of memorial type of little like fucking what they call this, pen and needle kind of thing. Really, really cool crochet or whatever it is.
Crochet.
We get a lot of really cool stuff. We have a fan and friend named India Moore who actually makes. She actually just made like some really unique merch items that are like little makeup mirrors with like, and you turn around, they're like really well done Julien-K like logo kind of buttons. She always does really cool stuff. I mean, we have a lot of really talented, cool fans that come up with some really, really cool stuff. And when we can, we put the stuff up, and we feature it.
We also got Felix. Felix wants to know, how did you guys get in contact with Sega to get Julien-K's music in the Sonic games? And also, Ryan, how can we get in touch with your music studio?
You start with the Sega, and I'll do the music studio.
I have a very good friend named June who does most of the music for all the Sega games, and I met him because he was a big fan of Rough Cut, my first band. He was a big fan of Rough Cut, and he was a big fan of mine. And I met him, and he approached me and asked me, would you ever consider doing some music for I don't know. Well, actually, we did Sonic and we did Shuck. Both, right? Hedgehog. So yeah, he just asked me if we would ever consider doing some music for one of his video games. And so at the time, Ryan and I were starting Julien-K. I thought, this could be a fun experiment. Maybe we'll just do something for a video game. And so we kind of wrote these songs that got used, and they became really popular. And that was all done before we'd ever done a whole lot of music yet. I don't even know. We hadn't written any songs yet?
No, I think that we did that. I think that you were kind of thinking, what would it sound like if we created something, and let's just do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like, you sing, Ryan, you sing on the orgy stuff too, just like Jay does, just sing on this. And I'm like, oh, okay. And and so we did that as kind of an exercise. I don't think we ever expected it would become such popular songs.
Yeah,
We had no idea.
They supplied a lot of lyrics and stuff. We had to,
Well, they gave the story. I had to write lyrics based off the story.
Right. There were words and certain things that we actually had to use.
Yes. Yeah, there were characters.
Yeah. So they had, it was kind of steered very specifically towards that game, and it's like,
Yeah.
It doesn't really totally represent what we do, obviously, but it was a very interesting experiment, and the songs have become extremely popular over the years. And they turned a lot of people on what we were doing.
So how to get a hold of our studio?
Yep.
We don't make that easy. We don't really advertise how to get a hold of our studio or our production company, Framework. But if you get a hold of us on Facebook or get a hold of us on our official email, our Julien-K email, that'll get to the right places. If you've really got a project or a production, project or something that you want Amir and I. Well, Amir and I are Framework, and Fu does stuff with us too. But we've got a bunch of projects in the pipeline. We've got a project we did with some really young kids, like we're talking like 15 to 18. And the first song we did with them got on the radio. And the second song got on the radio. Pretty crazy. So we've had a lot of success really quickly with that. And we are working, especially now we are working with the clients. So just hit the Julien-K email or hit the Julien-K Facebook, and you know, framework is really Amir, so that's the way you can get a hold of us.
And I have a question. My question is, when you guys did a double album, was there any concern that maybe that was too much for fans doing like now with how technology is?
Well, but here's the thing: we did a double album, but we actually released it in 2 parts. The first part came out. I don't know what year it was now, but there was a campaign. It was a whole year-long thing, and then a year later, we released the second part. The idea was, obviously for us, it would be a huge undertaking to actually do the whole thing at once. So the idea was to kind of break it up into 2 pieces and then put it together once it was all done. And as we move forward, it's a double album. But in the beginning, we kind of fell into it. Honestly, from the very beginning, it wasn't necessarily thought of as a double album. It started to kind of come together as we were doing it, and that's the way we do a lot of things. We just kind of do it as things are rolling along, and then it's kind of like, what if this is a double album? What if the next chapter, actually, we put it all together. We'll release the next chapter separately, but then we'll put it all together, and it kind of becomes a thing.
I think one of the things that this band does a lot of, and it's kind of funny and kind of fun, is we have eras. We almost have like the way a fashion designer would come out with a line or a season. We sort of have like seasons in the band. Like we have flavors that we're doing. Harmonic Disruptor is very much like a flavor that kind of Amir conceptualized, and that's now coloring the Trauma Echoes album. Is almost like, it's not Harmonic Disruptor 0.2, but in some ways, it's in the Harmonic Disruptor era. It's in that family, and so the albums tend to color each other now. Whereas Death to Analog was a thing; it's kind of a statement, and then We're Here With You was really like another big statement, and they were very separate in a lot of ways. And then as we got into California Noir, everything that we did started becoming this bigger, all-encompassing movement, where our clothing, our videos, messages you're getting out, our lyrics, our merchandise, the way we create our campaigns and launch our products gets colored by the personality of the era of the work. So it's really kind of fun, and I don't know that we can do it any other way now. I mean, I think we kind of invent, like, it's like the new Star Wars movie. Like you have, or the different eras. You got the George Lucas prequels, you've got the original series, and then you've got like the Frankenstein at the end, the 3 at the end. And I kind of feel like these are these different kind of looks and feelings and eras. I think we do the same thing with our albums.
Yeah, I don't think our fans. I mean, our fans would like us to release more music as much as we could. But for what we're doing, we're not really laptop producers.
Yeah.
It's like, I think, in a lot of ways we're a bit old school. I mean, I certainly am. I know Fu is. We like to, have instruments sort of drive some of the sounds and the things. I literally buy things. Like we have things in here now that didn't exist when we were doing, the last few records that are in here now. Things that have happened less in this year that are going to create the sounds for what we're doing now, and so it's just more fun. I don't know, sitting on a laptop and just using samples that everybody has and plugins that everybody has. I just don't find that all that interesting. And a lot of this stuff isn't necessarily expensive either. I find stuff where I buy it very cheap. I mean, some of the stuff's like $100 or whatever, but yet it will create something and do something that will push us in a direction, or create sounds and help us write the song, because we hear something and it just triggers it. So I think obviously we would like to have more music more often, but in order to do what we do, a lot more time goes into it. And I think, at least with our fans, I think they appreciate it. Some other our kids, maybe not. You know, they don't care. You know, they don't give a shit if everything's auto-tuned. You know, it's the same sample pack that every other producer is using. And, you know, there's people, they just don't care. It doesn't matter anymore. But for us, I don't think we could do that. You know, it's just not, it wouldn't be that interesting to us. We have to keep it interesting for us and for everyone else. I mean, you know, it's kind of like Nine Inch Nails. I'm sure Trent too. You know, it's like, I don't think he just sits at a laptop and uses the, you know, the samples and keyboard plugins and everything else that everybody else is using. You know, it's like, why are they so good? You know, because they put a lot of effort into what they're doing. Our fans allow us that time to be able to do that by, of course, contributing to our Patreon and, of course, in the past, the Indiegogo. And yeah, I mean, it's just how it works for us. And like Ryan's saying, I really agree with this. So much, you know, from the very beginning, the fashion aspect of what Julien-K is a big part of it. The name was meant to be a brand. Like when we talked about having a name, we kind of wanted a name brand. Mm-hmm. And that's how the Julien-K thing kind of came about. You know, we were thinking of it like album, you know, like we have, like, when you see it in the shirt, you know, or on the clothing, the tag, you know, this name, and Julien-K was meant to be a brand from the very beginning. And so I guess, you know, with the music and the way the album's evolved, he's exactly right in the fact that it's like a new line. Every time, you know, they've got this new thing that comes out, and you know, some of their fans are going to be like, what the hell is this? But wait, I kind of like it. You know? And how do they keep going, right? Because they're always kind of evolving and changing and trying things. And it doesn't always work, obviously, but a lot of it does. And so, but they push it forward, and they push everything forward around them, too, when they do that. And that's what I like to think that we're always striving to do, is that kind of thing, you know?
Absolutely, 100% for sure. I want to take this opportunity to welcome in our other co-host and yet another beautiful face that has joined us now for this, Psycho Steve Presta. So I want to thank the fans for bearing with us while we were moving around a couple of screens just so we could bring in Steve, you know, who you're familiar with from every week. Steve, how you doing, my friend?
I'm very good for my age, Jay. How are you, man?
Doing great, doing very great. Do you want to jump in, brother? The floor is yours, unless you wanted another moment or two.
No, absolutely. First of all, gentlemen, thank you for joining us. I've listened to several of your music, and it's freaking awesome. I did overhear, because I came in late to the conversation, and I apologize. I do have to work a day job.
That's all good.
So I overheard you say that you were in Rough Cut. Is that with Paul Sorrentino and Chris Hager?
Yes.
Okay, so the question is, have you ever thought about taking some of your music that you recorded with them and doing a spin on it?
I have not.
Okay. Reason?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Is it too dated, or?
It would have to be, it would have to be really, really redone for sure to make it relevant for what we do. Definitely.
Right.
We have talked about doing some things with some of the bands that we work with and stuff, possibly redoing some songs from the past with some of the bands we work with that it might fit with.
Right.
Which I still think would be actually quite cool. But no, I've never really thought about doing it ourselves per se. I mean, we do play a couple of orgy things as Julien-K, and it's kind of based off of where we were, but it's still got a little bit of a Julien-K twist to it. But that's about it.
Okay. I interviewed Chris about 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
So we talked about his days in Mickey Rat and things like that. So just thought to ask you if you would take any of the material from yesterday and bring it today. I think it'd be pretty cool. Or have you ever thought about bringing them on, like just to come in, and do you still keep in touch with them?
Well, Matt, the bass player, and I we've been best friends since I was in that band, and we still actually work on a lot of things together. We haven't really written anything in a while, but we do work in his studio occasionally and do various different projects together. So
Awesome.
I talk to him almost every day.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Matt.
No, that's super duper cool. I wanted to kind of like pull it back for like my next question. I kind of wanted to pull it back to this puppy, the new record for you guys. You can actually get it on screen. There we go. But yeah, guys, like I got to tell you, I mean, you know, Ryan, you and I actually keep in touch kind of more on the regular now, and you know, Amir, you've always treated me great as well, and you know, I love what you guys do. But the new album, I mean, it's great, you know, and I felt bad because that was one of the things I thought about when the sadness hit, was I knew that album was about to get its big push. But yeah. Harmonic Disruptor is a killer track. I love the aggression. I love the way it's set up. But the one song I kind of wanted to ask you about first, because I wanted to ask you about it, but also ask you a question about it, is Stronger Without You. Because I was kind of curious about the way you guys wrote that, maybe a little bit what it's about, because it kind of registered to me as a song that you would have written about a record label that doesn't back you. So we're like, forget you guys, we got this.
That's exactly what it's about now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you said that.
It's actually, funny enough, it could be because it's about an antagonist.
Yeah.
It's about a force in your life that maybe a codependent force. A record label could be a totally codependent force, right? Or you know, somebody that is a big figure or thing in your life, or a big entity in your life that becomes, you know, just completely self-destructive and ruins everything around them, and you know, tries to ruin you, but you're stronger without them. So you watch their cities crumble, and you know, you watch their fortunes turn. So.
Absolutely, because you would put out a couple different versions of like a music video for that song, and it's I mean, it's great, and I'm 100% with you guys. Like, yeah, you know, different people can listen to a song and get a different feeling out of it. It relates to them in a certain way. It relates to somebody else a different way. That's what makes music so great. But I just remember sitting there listening to this, especially just kind of thinking about you guys and the band that I know Julien-K is, where you really do have like your hands in every cookie jar, as I like to say, and stuff like that. So I'm listening to this going like, I really just get that vibe of like, you know, trying to have the music business help them, and they're just like, you're not doing shit for us, so we got this.
It's funny. I talked to it's a great analogy, and it's interesting that I had this conversation today with a very big manager friend of mine who is one of the only people in the music industry that Amir and I still like and care for, and he cares for us, and we've done a lot of business with him and everything. And he called me to kind of talk to me about what we're doing with Patreon and all this kind of stuff, because he's noticed like, wow, you guys are like busier than ever, and everything's shut down. You guys are doing so much shit. And I ran through all of our shit, like what we're doing. We have like a flow chart and shit. Like we're like a company, you know? And we talked for like 45 minutes, and he goes, well, Ryan, he's like, all right, so number one, he's like, I feel fucking lazy. He's like, you guys are doing more than any manager is doing for any band right now. And I was like, wow, this is like a big time music manager. And it was just very cool to hear, like, he's like, wow, like everything you guys are doing is feeding the other thing. It's all interdependent systems. And I was like, yeah, you get it. And he's like, yeah, he's like, when do you guys sleep? And I was kind of laughing, because honestly, it's not like we're working 24 hours a day. God, I mean, we figure out how to do it all. That's called running a business. But it is pretty sophisticated, the things that we've created, and the way that we've become an indie band in an organization that runs itself. And two guys that can still get together in the studio and work on music also can tour manage their own tour and do their own accounting and create these pretty complicated business systems and deliver to the fans and get merch out to the fans and get websites built and campaigns launched and marketing campaigns to happen, and huge live productions like we're going to do on Friday, and 2 more videos that we have in the pipeline that we have we're in the production phase right now. You know, all that stuff is really, really cool. But that's like the output of a full-on major label, you know. And we're really, at the end of the day, we're 2 guys, 3 sometimes, depending on the project. You know. So that was a nice thing to hear. You know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
He's a great friend. I could say his name. I just don't want to I don't want to you know, I don't want to give too much of the behind the scenes away. But
nah, for sure. Nah, totally cool. Jason, how about yourself, brother? Let me kick it over to you.
So, you've played many venues. What would you say is your guys' favorite place to play and why?
For me, it really just depends on the crowd. I mean, it could be a, you know, for instance, playing a big city like Chicago. It can be fantastic if the crowd is fucking awesome, or it can be totally sucky, and the best show could be in Alabama, for all we know. You know what I mean? You just never know. Playing LA can be really hard sometimes, because it can be the most jaded crowd. So New York can be like that as well, but somehow we do New York and it's fucking amazing. You know, so it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. You know, we played a gig in Columbia a couple of years ago, a big festival, and we headlined it. It was amazing. It was one of the best shows. It was an amazing show. The police were jumping. Like, yeah, Julien-K. So it's really hard to say. I mean, there isn't for me, there's not like a favorite place or a favorite thing, because it just depends. Changes. Yeah, it changes too.
You know, and obviously we've been playing, you know, for many, many years, and it's like there's so many places that you go, and it is up and down. And sometimes, you know, it can be the most obscure place, and you can have the most amazing show. So I don't know that there is any one place.
Yeah.
I think it's just really wherever, you know, the crowd is really into it, you know, where you really connect with them. That's always the best show, the best place.
Well, let me ask you this. Instead, what was when you guys were growing up, wanting to be like rock stars when you get older? What venue did you want to be able to play at, and have you played at that venue?
Yeah, I can answer this one right away.
I can as well.
Yeah, because when I was a kid, I lived in San Diego, and as a teenager, I used to go to a lot of concerts. That was my life. My cousin and I would ride my little motorcycle all the way down to the San Diego Sports from where we lived, and I would watch shows there, you know, I don't know, all the time. It was like $5 because I'm super old. It was like $5 to get tickets, you know, at concerts back then, right? And that was always the stage that I was like, man, I wonder what it would be like to be up there. Like, I want to be up there on that stage. And then I remember in Rough Cut, so I guess I was about 20, we ended up playing there. I think we were probably opening for Dio. I'm guessing we were probably opening for Dio. And I remember walking on that stage, and it was one of those, you know, epiphany moments where it was like it just hit me. Like, holy fuck, I'm actually on this stage right now. And then when I got out there, I was like, wow, this place looks so small. That was like the first thing that I thought, because we've been playing all these arenas all over the country, and then we got to San Diego, and I'm like, fuck, this place sucks.
It's not even that big of an arena.
Yeah, it's like, this place sucks, and it sounded terrible. It was like the worst like sound on stage of any of the shows we had done, and I was just like, God, I really should have made my, you know, goal a lot higher. Like, just wanting to be here, I'm like, fuck, I'm already here, and I'm 20 years old. I've only been playing guitar for 2 years.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So, you're all right.
I think mine was the David Letterman show or Conan O'Brien. In my small town, Taft, California, we didn't even have like full-fledged cable really for quite a while. So I had like a rabbit ears TV, a little TV in my room. And late night, I would watch Arsenio Hall, and I saw Megadeth on Arsenio Hall play like album was that. It was their kind of breakout album, Holy Wars or whatever. I can't remember what it is. But,
Rest in peace.
Yeah, Rest in Peace. Yeah. And I was just like, fucking wow, Megadeth just played Arsenio Hall. And that was just my little window. I didn't even really have MTV yet or anything. And then Conan O'Brien had a show, like a fledgling show and all this kind of stuff. And that was, I gauged, like, I was like, you were big time if you were on one of those shows. And even in my little tiny town, like I was seeing these sound stages in New York, Jay Leno show or whatever it was. And then luckily for me in Orgy, we got to do quite a bit of that. And Dead by Sunrise, we would clean out all the rest of it. Jimmy Kimmel, David Letterman, Conan O'Brien twice with the Orgy. And I thought, if I was ever, I remember this thought, I was in my room and I was like watching this stuff with my fucking shitty little West Tone guitar and my amp that was like this big, like crate amp, solid state, and my fucking Death Angel records and shit like that. And I was like, man, if I was ever on one of these shows, that would be it. I would be done. I was nothing else that I need. I would be rich. I would have a brilliant house, and I would have played the fucking Conan O'Brien show. Hallelujah, praise the Lord, and that would be it. But it was so astronomically out of reach that I just couldn't even fathom what that meant. And then we fucking play all of them more than once. And I remember standing up there going like, man, there's fucking Andy Richter's right there, and Conan's like taller than me, and I'm like, and he's asking me about my 7-string, and he wants one, and I'm like, I can get him one. I'm fucking kind of, I'm kind of rich, and I'm a fucking rock star, and I am sponsored by this company. I'm like, do you want me to have one sent to your house? And he's like, oh no, I'll buy one. I'm like, holy fuck, I'm fucking hanging out with Conan O'Brien, woo! And I was just like, fucking, we're so not done. We have like 45 more shows. We have got to go play this other fucking show, and I'm not super rich yet, and I don't even have a house, and you're just like, the whole thing is like such a fucking pipe dream. It's so funny.
Let me tell you about David Letterman. It's the coldest.
Oh my god,
show.
it's so funny.
It's free. He makes it freezing.
Yeah.
It's so fucking cold.
It's like a walk-in refrigerator.
Seriously.
Yep.
It was like, that was not cool, in that pun intended.
I didn't mind it. I like it really cold.
It was like ridiculous.
But we were out there in full jackets, like scarves, like the whole thing. And apparently he keeps it at a specific temperature, and that's how it has to be on all the sets in all the rooms.
Yeah.
He likes them perky. I think it's a really cool thing though that we got to experience that. You know what I mean? Like, who knows like the things that these hosts do to get their guests to be in a certain condition. To me that was great psychological warfare on David Letterman's part. I thought that was like so cool. He's like, I control this entire environment. I control the way you feel. I control and I'm doing it for a reason. Like he's obviously keeping it in a refrigerator because he wants a certain effect.
Yeah.
He wants people in a certain prime state. And I was like, this is cool. I'm like, it's uncomfortable, but this is cool. They're like, don't sit at the desk. And of course we're all like at the desk. David Letterman, like, yeah. It's pretty funny.
Dude, that's awesome. That's so badass. Angel, how are the Gathering of Julien-K fans doing?
Whoa, definitely got quite a few questions, so I'm just going to get right to it. Cool. This is from Leo Neal from France. Amir, most of the bands you've played with had 2 guitar players. Which one of these guitarists did your style match the best? Good question.
Probably not mine, because I play like a 4th grader. Actually, you know what's funny is me and Amir together actually have a very defined tone, and it's very weird. And someone pointed it out the other day. We have someone new that's working with the band, and he was like, it's so weird, man. He's like, when you guys both play the part together, it sounds like fucking Orgy. Like, it's just a thing. You guys, he's like, your tones together, no matter what amp it is, you guys sound like it's like a wall of guitars. And I was like, oh, that was nice to hear. But anyways, I'll let Amir answer.
Well, yeah, it's kind of difficult because, I guess really there's only been 2 that I've ever really, it's only been you or it's been Chris, really. So,
and Chris is like really good and I'm like really shitty. It's pretty funny.
But the styles are so different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like what I was doing with Chris was this metal, it was like Thin Lizzy, Judas Priest, Scorpions, like this dual harmony guitars and ripping leads, you know, whereas what I do with Ryan, it's not really about that. It's more about, you know, textures and layers and sounds and rhythmic parts. So yeah, I don't know. It's just so different. I don't even know how you would even really compare, but I think, you know, musically that Ryan and I have a, you know, a special kind of bond when it comes to how that all works. And that was a big part of like what he was saying, why Orgy had this unique sound, the differences. And of course, me playing synth guitar and him doing all this crazy atmospheric stuff. I think it was the most unique stuff. Whereas like the stuff that Chris and I were doing, I mean, yeah, it was cool and it was, you know, it was of that time, but you know, how different was it than anybody, you know, what had been done before or other bands? Not so much. So I think I would go with me and Ryan for sure.
And Zachary Lowe has another question. How did you guys adapt to the new reality of the music business? With Orgy, I imagine sales drove income. Now it seems touring is the way. Do you like the way it is now?
I think we kind of answered that.
Yeah, I think we kind of answered it. And whether or not we like it, unfortunately or fortunately, it doesn't really matter. You know, you have to do what, you know, there's an objective reality out there that is real. There's things that are going on. You kind of have to adapt and you have to do something. And I recommend being happy about it. Yeah. You can be miserable about it. Yeah. I recommend you try not to fucking, you know, be miserable. You try to fucking adapt and make it work.
The touring business was the business for a while, and especially for big bands. For smaller bands, not so much.
Yep.
And you know, we had to figure that out pretty quickly, and that's why we started doing the crowdfunding and all the other things. The touring actually came after that because we actually couldn't.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough money. We didn't have the means to do it at all on our own. It just wasn't possible. So by doing all the crowdfunding and all the other stuff that we were doing, and the fact that, of course, we own everything that we do, all the music, everything, our entire back catalog, we own it. So, you know, we can license it, we can do this, we can do that. There's a lot of different ways that we kind of dip into the pot, right? Because we control the big picture. But it wasn't really until we figured out this way of doing the crowdfunding, which of course Ryan spearheaded as well in the beginning, that led us to the ability to start doing shows. We actually did a show because of our first campaign. We did a stretch goal and said, if you guys get us like another $10,000, we're going to go to New York and we're going to play on the East Coast. Because before that, we couldn't go anywhere.
Couldn't afford it. Yeah.
We couldn't go anywhere outside of California or maybe, you know, Las Vegas, San Diego,
Arizona,
Arizona or whatever. You know, that was about as far as we could get on our own. But with the stretch goal, we said, we'll make it happen. We'll make a show happen on the East Coast. And it totally worked. It was great. Sold out. It was amazing. And then little by little, as we were doing this, we all started wearing a lot more hats. And my basket was pretty full with doing the merch and the production and all this other stuff. And I started telling Ryan, I'm like, look, you got to figure out how we can tour. You got to figure this out because I can't do it, you know, not by myself, not when I'm dealing with this. And Food does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. He's also creative and works with us on a lot of different aspects. But he does a lot of the behind the scenes kind of stuff as well. But someone needed to spearhead the touring and how we would even be able to tour. So he figured that out. It was pretty rough at first, not going to lie. But we, you know, little by little, that little rocky road started to head towards the direction where we were like, okay, we can make this work. And unfortunately, this year was going to be like our slam dunk, you know? So, you know, touring really isn't, especially now when it's happened, that's completely out the window. And I'm sure every band right now is trying to figure out, like, how the hell are we going to do this when they've been relying on all this money? I'm sure, like, big bands are totally screwed because they were making tons of money doing this. So, you know, there really is, there's so many different ways now, and that's all the things that we're kind of dipping into and trying to figure out how to navigate this. as an indie band that's not a huge band, you know, but we're figuring it out little by little.
I think that. Oh, I didn't mean to be off.
No, that's okay. No, you just have to try stuff, and you kind of have to, you know, you're going to fail at some of it. Some of it's going to work great, you know, but you won't know until you kind of dive into it, and you just got to try things and see what works for your band, because every band's different too. You know, you got to do stuff you feel comfortable with, that you feel like you can create the right kind of content and other things that will work and connect with your fans.
I think that something that we've had to realize very, very much is that we're not just musicians. You know, we are content generating artists, and the principle that guides us is the number one thing we ask each other is, would the fans dig it? Do we dig it? Is it authentic? Is it really us? And if you think like that, you can do all sorts of different kinds of content and stuff. You can come up with things that are authentic to you. That doesn't necessarily just involve, you know, playing a show or the traditional things that an artist would do. There's some artists that kind of have that old-fashioned mentality there, and they're just like, oh man, you know, I just don't want to bother with all that kind of stuff. And I totally understand.
Some people don't have to.
And you know, some people don't have to.
They might, you know, they're at a level where they don't have to deal with that anymore, but we don't have that choice. So what we do is we try to take on the things, you know, a lot of the stuff that other bands are doing, we look at and we go, well, they're making money doing this, but how can we make that work for us? Like, how can we make it cool? And, you know, what would make it cool for me even? You know, like how we do our VIP and all this other stuff. You know, everybody does VIP, but we make like special things for them that other bands don't do. And, you know, of course, a meet and greet is a meet and greet for the most part. But all of that is out the window right now. So, you know, touring it may look very different starting next year. I mean, it could be very different. You know, we don't know. I have no idea at this point how it's working.
So, we got Zachary has a question for Ryan. You know, speaking of touring, hopefully this could be a possibility. Would Ryan pull double duty doing a Edema Julien-K tour? Would that be a possibility?
That is so funny. You know how the whole Edema thing even started was I was talking to Edema and Marky, and talking to them about doing a tour with us in Julien-K. And I just thought it would be really, really cool. I wanted to tour with the guys. You know, I really like the band. I think they're fucking great. I think they have great songs. And it evolved into me learning that, like, Marky just isn't someone who can really, you can't get the guy to do a tour or get the guy to do anything productive with the band. Even when the bands, they all want to do it. And he's just not, he doesn't seem to have the thing it takes to be a musician, to be a pro musician and a lead singer. And so I ended up finding myself being the singer of that band, just trying to help my friends out. And now we're fucking getting, you know, we get tons of major tour offers, working on an album together and all this kind of stuff. The thought has definitely been there. How would we do something like that? It has come up. I don't know yet if I could do it. Both of our sets are hard vocally. I don't know if I could do it, but there could be a way. It's not impossible. You know, maybe if we abbreviated both sets and came up with a cool way for the bands to kind of blend together between songs, somewhat like Nine Inch Nails and David Bowie did on that amazing fucking seminal tour. And I was there. I saw how it worked. That definitely could take a lesson out of that book. I don't know. I've thought about it a lot. I think it'd be really fun to do. I just don't exactly know how to do that yet, but it's been asked enough that I think that when it gets asked enough that it might end up happening in some way.
Yeah, I mean, doing 2 hours might be tough, but I don't know. What if we did 2 30-minute sets?
Well, yeah. Well, what if it was? What if the whole thing was an hour and 35 minutes?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it didn't end, but the bands could come together and kind of, you know, a couple of Edemas could come out and play with the Julien-Ks, and then 2 Julien-Ks could kind of go off after 2 songs. We could do another song, and then it morphs into like an Edema set then, and it's cool. You know, that's a way you could do it.
Yeah.
All that could work.
That'd be
Possible.
right.
The problem though is that that's a lot of people to feed. It's
Right.
kind of tough to get the money that you need to do something like that. The way touring works right now, unfortunately, it isn't like, oh, dude, you get these good bands and everyone goes out together and everyone gets paid. The headliner gets paid and everyone else kind of sucks it. And so there's typically not a lot of money to make it happen. So we just have to figure it out, you know. But the idea sounds fun. I like this kind of shit. Obviously, I mean,
The fans, they always come up with great questions.
yeah, totally. Our fans are fucking awesome.
Yes.
They're the best fans.
A couple of fans just want to say hi. Lori Hunt, hello from New Jersey. David Rosenfeld, hey. One of our fans that tunes in every week, Bridget Sullivan,
Bridget.
Illinois, has a question. What albums did you hear that made you want to write music?
What music
What
did we hear? What albums
did you hear that made you want to write music?
Okay. I heard the song True Faith by New Order in a dance club when I was age 16 or something in San Luis Obispo, which was like a nicer town outside of my little crappy town, at the beach. And I heard that song and it just, my fucking mind's eye opened up. I was like, whoa, like you can make music like this? This is incredible. And that kind of opened up my fucking chakra or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know about Amir.
It's kind of tough because, I mean, I do have kind of a bit of a metal background, so there was a lot of, guitar-based bands and guitar players that probably got me started, like Michael Schenker and Jeff Beck, and I don't know, a lot of that kind of stuff kind of got me going on guitar. But I actually was really fascinated with synthesizers when they came out. But my cousin kind of beat me to it, bought a Moog. So I ended up kind of playing with guitar, but at the same time, I was really, really leaning towards what was becoming this like new wave movement that was coming out, whether it be New Order, Dead or Alive, Sig Sig Sputnik, The Cure, I don't know, all this stuff that was happening back in those days. And honestly, I always kind of really wanted to be in a band like that, but the metal doors sort of opened up for me as a guitar player, and I just kind of went with it for a bit. But that's why I kind of never really looked like I fit in there. I mean, I always dressed like I was like new romantic. I wore like strappy pants with like kilts and motorcycle boots and all that stuff, which no one was doing in hair metal bands at that point. So I was like wanting to be in The Cure. Something like this, but like I was in a metal band, so it was a strange time, but there was a lot of great things that I learned doing all of that, and of course all of that applied later on, and still applies now because I am a guitar player first and foremost. So all that stuff is still there, which is cool. But at the time it was just like I was always pining to be somewhere else. And eventually it happened with Orgy, basically. It was really the band where I sort of found what it was that I was looking for finally, where I could do everything I wanted to do. And then, of course, continuation in Julien-K is kind of the same thing. Get to do basically whatever I want to do, which is nice.
Right on.
I know it's almost the top of the hour. I want to take it up to Jay. I know you got to do your thing with thanking our sponsors.
Yeah, no sweat, but we're definitely fans. Hang tight. We totally got you. We work for you guys, and we're definitely going to rock out with you guys a little bit more. I'm just going to throw a little bit of love and then kick it down to Psycho, but I always want to take a second to thank Levy Metal Enterprises, Custom Guitars and Stage Props, Twisted Vines, Horror Decor out of Rhode Island, Bradley Entertainment, based out of Baltimore, and of course Aces and Eights Skateboards as well. We thank you guys all so much for supporting us, looking out for us. We love you. We appreciate you guys, backing us in and getting involved in our happy little project here, so we can keep putting these shows out for everybody to enjoy across the borders with all the fans and everything. But Psycho Steve, we haven't heard from you in a minute, so let's get you in here.
All right, so it's 2 questions I have for you guys. First question is there any artist either still with us or that is not with us that you would like to perform with?
Depeche Mode.
Depeche Mode.
Okay. And then also, what was the first song you guys both learned to play?
Boy, that's tough.
Like a full-length song.
What's that Metallica song? Welcome
Home Song.
I can still remember it. What is it?
That is an
Oh,
awesome I can't remember.
Damn it, mine drew a blank.
And it goes the acoustic. It starts in acoustic.
Fade to Black.
Yeah, Angel, what are you doing?
Yeah, Fade to Black. Yeah, I
Fade
think
to
that was
Black.
probably one of the first songs that I learned. Yeah, because it was just those simple chords. Dun 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 dun. And I probably went like dun, 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 and I was like, oh my god, that sounds just like Metallica. Fuck, I can do it. And I can still play that motherfucker to this day. I can play like fucking. What about you? Oh, he's looking.
I don't think that's it. Hold on. Is it this? No. It was definitely something off AC/DC's live album.
Awesome.
Some of this kind of stuff.
Nice.
Nice.
You know, that's how I learned how to play guitar. I actually had a guitar teacher that quit because he said that I didn't have it and that I just
I love this story.
I couldn't learn anything. Like he's like, I don't think you should play guitar. Like he just doesn't have what it takes. And he quit. And he was my friend. He's still my friend. It's like something we laugh about now, of course. But he was trying to teach me scales and modes and all this shit. And I just wanted to play AC/DC.
There's no fucking scales and modes in that.
Yeah, and I would go to the San Diego Sports Arena like we were talking about earlier with binoculars because we never had good seats. And I would just watch their fingers. And then I would go home and I would try to mimic it, like what I saw, because I thought it didn't look that hard. Like, what was so hard about playing these songs, you know? And then when I got home and I started doing it, I was like, da-na-na-na-na-na. I'm like, oh my God. Da-na-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. And I was like, I figured it out, like, literally overnight. And started to realize that most of this stuff was like, 3 chords. You had to learn like 3 chords, and then you had to learn how to solo, of course, which I was completely intrigued with. And I actually learned how to solo before really being a great rhythm player. But yeah, it was AC/DC probably was some of the first stuff I ever learned.
That's so cool. So one of the things that I gotta bring up for sure that we have to take some time to cover is Ryan, when I gave you a call about if you guys were available to do our show, is because you guys 2 days from now have a show.
Yeah.
And you, Ryan, are actually the first alumnus of the Monsters of Rock cruise that we've had on this show, because you played it with Adema a couple of weeks ago, and now you're playing it with Amir and your band Julien-K this Friday on their Facebook page and all of their various outlets. So please talk a little bit about what you how that got set up, playing that show, and you looking forward to it. But I also think it's important to hear what's your take of what the Monsters of Rock has been doing for the fans during this pandemic with these shows, because I got to say from an outsider from watching a lot of them, it's pretty badass, and I appreciate them for it. So please, guys, talk about your upcoming show.
I mean, our thoughts on the whole situation are the same as yours in terms of like how much we appreciate what Larry and the guys are doing over at Third Encore and Monsters of Rock. These are guys that we've worked with for years and years and years. Amir longer than I have, but anyone that's at a high level in music in LA, when you go do big tours, you rehearse at Third Encore. You know, this is like home for us. Granted, it's a very fucking, it's high level, it's expensive, it's a real production facility. But, you know, when you get to go into a Third Encore room, you know, you're going to fucking get your business done. And that's really, really cool. And they're known for that. And I love that. You know, you get in there to figure your stuff out and get it to be right. And you get there because you're serious about fucking music. And I think it's just amazing that we were using Patreon as like when we hit 200 people on Patreon, we were going to do a live streaming show and we were going to just do it ourselves. Mm-hmm. We didn't really know how, but this is what we do. We figured, yeah, we're going to do a live streaming show, right, Amir? And Amir's like, fuck, bro, okay, whatever, Ryan.
Oh, you throw the ball and
you throw the ball
and hope someone's going to be out there to catch it.
Yeah. So we put it out there. We know we'll figure something out, but when we heard about what they were doing and how the production levels were going higher and higher and higher every time they did it, and that we could have kind of control over these screens and doing the production and bring what we do to the table. I mean, our agent Shuck basically kind of lined it up for us, and we already knew the guys, and so it just fell right in place. And we were able to really have a lot of control over the way it looks and feels, you know, for Edema and Julien-K. The only hard part is, and this is just the reality of doing something like this streaming, where you have this live thing that gets pushed into like a digital conversion. It's typically hard for the vocals. It's weird. The music has been managing to sound pretty good. It's pretty tough for the band as a whole to kind of get the vibe down, because you're playing in an empty room. You know, with the COVIDs and stuff, we can't even bring in a crowd. So we know that it's important, and we're super fucking stoked to do it. And the production is incredible. Like, it's super fun, but it's also tricky to get the feels, you know, to play. And, you know, you just can't, you know, you're not in a live room. And so it's a unique thing. And I think that we're really grateful, because we need to, even if we don't get the results sonically that we want exactly the way we would want to get it live on tour every night, it's really important that we learn how to do this kind of stuff and to be able to get this format to come across. So, you know, we're really, really happy about it. And my God, if we could have this kind of production and bring it out on the road with us, like what these people are doing there, it's incredible. So we're super grateful. And, you know, our fans in Edema and Julien-K, you know, Julien-K hasn't played yet, but we've been in pre-production. So we think that our fans are going to bring it, but our fans definitely showed up for the Edema show, and it actually turned out really, really good for all of us. I mean, we made some money. They made money. Obviously, it takes money to create these things. So the fans being involved, they make it happen. And with Julien-K, we're not going to have like a live auction afterwards, because there's certain issues with how they've had to do that. With that stuff, you have to fulfill it all. You have to there's just a lot of back end stuff that goes on. And I don't know that they can do it at the level that they've been doing it, like we did it with Edema, but we will have stuff for sale during the performance, and after the performance, fans can get on there and participate and support the band and help us pay for this stuff. And hopefully it's a really cool performance.
Yeah. They're going to have signed set lists, some special posters just for the event, some buttons, I think, but I believe there's like a tip jar or something that on the stream, and people, you know, obviously it's a big help for not only us, but the people putting on this production. You know, everybody needs to kind of help out with that as well.
Sure. And anybody who's seen those Monsters of Rock shows, even if you've only seen one, I've seen quite a few. You guys are definitely right. They're high level shit, and they're very, very, very cool. So we're definitely excited for that. So yeah, all of the fans, of course, that are watching us live right now with the guys, 2 days, Monsters of Rock on their page. Make sure that you go and watch the guys for sure and support them and keep this ball rolling. Yeah. Jason, let me kick it over to you, brother. It's all you.
Hey, so how are you guys doing that multi-camera thing?
I'll show you. So we got a Blackmagic A10. Right, so that's right on my fingers. Right, and we actually number 4 is typically the screen, the computer screen.
Right, and Pro Tools too.
Yeah, so we're running Pro Tools, and we have cameras all over the studio, and aimed in with different lenses, and they're all cinema cameras except for this little GoPro here. And this GoPro we just use because it's just a cute little camera. The picture's not great, but it's a cute little camera that you can put everywhere, and we use it to have it on our fingers. So as we're if you join our Patreon, when we work in the studio, a lot of times you turn on all the cameras and we just capture us writing the album. So you can be a fly on the wall and you can actually ask questions and interact. And it's on Facebook Live when we do it, or excuse me, it's on YouTube Live when we do it. We give a secret link and we just say, hey, we're in the studio, we're going live. And we use these cameras. We'll put it like on someone's guitar. We'll put it on the work desk here, and we'll have this one of these views as well. And we have like the audio actually going from the actual session into the stream, and it's a pretty incredible production. And we're getting to a point now where we can use this for interviews. We can use it to produce our live content here. We can do interactive content. And at some point, I think that some of the stuff that we're doing, these like breakdowns of how we work and how we do what we do, we might start to catalog into some sort of a collection of educational types of videos for people to want to learn how to do what we do at this level. And it is 360 degrees. It's music, it's content, it's video, it's production, it's management, it's business, and it's all the stuff that we do. We're kind of learning that we just capture all this and share it with everyone. And we're making money doing it, and that's awesome. We're doing things I think that enrich people's lives, and we're ending up like making money. It's like a nice reciprocal, awesome circle.
And the funny thing is, without COVID, this probably wouldn't have happened right now.
Yeah.
It would have taken a lot longer, obviously being stuck at home, and we had to spend a lot of time figuring out how to make all this stuff work. There was a lot of fuck ups in the beginning. When we first started doing it, we were literally just using our iPhone on Patreon and just trying to, one phone to stream. And then we started, Blackmagic sponsored us and, some of this equipment. But it was actually not that easy to figure out like how to make this all work in a relatively pro way. Getting the audio in from our Pro Tools, mirroring the screens, having
it's complicated.
Cameras, getting the lighting right. We have a ring light up here.
You see right there? looks like a Star Destroyer's engine.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of experimenting, but obviously we've been home stuck here doing this, so it actually kind of worked out that we could figure some of this stuff out.
Cool. Nothing but learning new technologies.
Yeah, it's really important, with the question from the fan that asks, like, and did I like things one way or the other? And again, there's not a choice. There is just reality, and you got to make it rock. And I think that's truly being an artist in a commercial sense. If you want to be an artist and just please yourself, have a fucking great time. If you're really lucky, other people will like it. Maybe you'll be able to make a living. Maybe. I doubt it, but maybe. We like to make a living doing it.
I watched a movie about Banksy the other night, which is extremely interesting.
Which one?
If you haven't seen it.
Coming through the gift shop?
No, I think it's on Prime.
Oh, wow.
It's really, really good. You have to watch it. But it's interesting because, like, for him, he started out as a graffiti artist, street artist, right? Completely obscure. But, he obviously built his way up doing all these different things, and he was borrowing things from other artists, and and eventually it's like he became so popular that he had to go in galleries, because he was completely against, all the street artists were completely against galleries, or really even making a lot of money in the beginning. They were really just interested in creating these pieces of art that would live on the side of a building or whatever, and they were statements that people would see. And obviously some of them, I mean, they're quite amazing, some of these early, even some of Banksy's early work. But eventually he had to conform, right, in some ways, not completely obviously, but he decided to start doing things in galleries, but they would do it their own way. And then little by little he started doing these exhibitions, right, where he had animals that were painted, and it just like every step of the way caused controversy and just stirred the pot in the biggest way possible, as he continued to do, right? And I mean, it's such an amazing story when you see how they've done this, how they've operated on the outside, but yet got on the inside, with the galleries, and how he, created that painting where it shredded itself, right? After the person bought it. I don't know if you saw that or not, but he had a painting that they were selling at what's the major auction?
Sotheby's?
Oh,
Sotheby's, or whatever the hell it's called. Yeah, and they were like, it sold for like $3 million or something ridiculous. And then somehow he remotely shredded it right in front of everybody after it was sold. And then it became worth twice as much. They sold it. Then the person who bought it sold it for twice as much because of that. And it's just crazy. Like, I love people who think that way, though. Like, that is extremely inspiring to me. The people that are really thinking outside of the box and really just weaving their way in and out of, what's supposed to be and what's not supposed to be. And I mean, that's a really great example of how you do it nowadays. I mean, no one's going to be able to do that, but you have to constantly be throwing the ball and just hope someone's going to catch it.
Absolutely, 100%. Hey, Angel, I'm going to kick it to Psycho right quick before we bring it over to the fans for their final round. So, Psycho, why don't you take it away, brother?
Okay. The final question is, I know you guys did music for video games. Are you guys gamers yourself?
Actually, Ryan is a massive gamer. I don't play any games at all.
Okay. What platform?
You're going to have to ask him. He stepped up for a second, but he's actually a massive gamer.
Because I just got suckered in. I'm a single dad of 2, and I bought Xbox One, or got an Xbox One. So my oldest son plays it like it's his job. He's always like, "Are you online yet?" No.
Yeah, I think my last gaming console was probably a Dreamcast.
Wow.
Or a Nintendo Cube.
Before that, mine was a Commodore VIC-20, so I get you. So that's cool.
Those are actually quite fun, though. There's some quite fun games on there.
Right?
Definitely.
I used to love that, what was it called? Hydro Thunder, the boat.
Yeah.
You remember that? And the little controller. The controller had like a vibrating, motor in it or whatever. So when you're doing it, you could feel it in the controller. That was like pretty high tech when it came out. But that's about where I left off on video games. So,
gotcha.
But Ryan, he plays all kinds of stuff, and I don't know what he has, but he's got a bunch of different things. He's way into it.
Nice.
So when he comes back, we can react.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Also, I see all these guitars behind you. What's the oldest guitar behind you?
The oldest guitar?
Yeah. Like, do you have any like vintage gear that you could show us?
I do. Actually, I have some pretty crazy stuff. I don't keep a lot of it here, but this Telly's probably, I think it's a 73.
Nice.
Telly Deluxe. This has been used on a lot of recordings. Most recently, this is half of the Twin Guitar Attack and Slaves to Humanity, the band that Ryan and I are producing from Orange County. They're teenagers. They've got 2 songs on the radio now, and it's just good rock, like 90s kind of They call themselves Sunset Grunge.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
cool. You have to check it out.
Well, since we were talking about guitars, and Amir, since you're with us right here before Ryan comes back, my next question was actually going to be geared to you anyway, because from following you as long as I have, from knowing you with Rough Cut, with your bomber guitars, all the way up, through Orgy, through Dead, and up to now. Dude, you've had some of the most unique looking guitars that I've ever seen in my life. And I'm definitely, we're all gear nerds, dude. And I love gear and I love guitars. But so I got to ask you about that, because I'm under the impression that you've been designing guitars with Jackson for a long time.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've got the one guitar I've seen, I know you played with Julien-K, that I refer to as the blood drop, the circular one with no headstock. You've got like, your disruptor guitars that you're pretty known for, and then you also had a couple very unique guitars that had like the crossbar that went from like the body up to the head of the guitar. So just talk a little bit about these guitars that you've played and designed over your career that are definitely unique and not traditional.
Yeah, I guess from the very beginning, I've always, like, honestly, the first guitar that I ever got was an Ibanez Iceman. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah, Paul Stanley plays it.
Paul Stanley.
Yeah, that was my first guitar. Like, who gets that as a first guitar?
Nice guitar.
It's a weird first guitar. Yeah, that was my first guitar, was an Ibanez Iceman. And then, when the Charvel stuff started happening, I had like a Purple Star body, and I had some crazy stuff right when I first started. I was always really fascinated with having something different to stand out from everybody else, whether it be the paint job, like how I used to do the fighter plane graphics and all of that. I always just kind of wanted something different. I don't know. It just was interesting to me. I think Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick was a big inspiration for that. Because he had so many guitars, and he was always like making kind of weird guitars and painting them crazy and all this stuff. And I was fascinated by that. I think that's probably where I got it from, I think, initially. But, I was lucky enough to have a close relationship with Grover Jackson in those early years. And he just kind of took a liking to me, and he kind of let me do whatever I wanted to do, really. And out of all of that, I, created a double neck, which they had never had at that point. And then beyond that, going into Orgy, Grover wasn't with the company anymore, but I had some people approach me and said, look, we love what you're doing in Orgy, and we'd love to have you come back and just kind of, do something. Just create something out of nothing, basically. So I kind of came up with some ideas. I actually modified a guitar that they had, tweaked it for something that I could use, which was the Roswell Star, because they had a Roswell guitar, but I made it into a Star version of that. That was like the first thing. And then, of course, we did the Disruptor, which was completely from the ground up. And I actually had more ideas and never got that far, unfortunately. The company kind of got weird there. Like, I couldn't do stuff there anymore. So I ended up hooking up with Yamaha, and then actually the guitars that we play now, we've had since then. I still use them. I'll be using it Friday.
And so will I.
Yep. So yeah, and it's a little more standard looking, but it has a lot of cool little details to it. And they're both baritone guitars, which is something that I got into starting with Orgy. But yeah, I just always wanted something different, because everybody's a guitar player, everybody's a bass player or whatever. But if you go up there and you're playing something that looks, it's like people will go like, what is that? What are you playing? Like, what the hell is that? Some people like it, some people don't. Traditionalists aren't going to like it.
Absolutely. No, that's definitely super duper cool. Hey, Angel, let's kick it to you so we can get everything that the fans have put up. And then, guys, we'll hit you each with a final question from us and put a little bow on it, if that's cool.
Cool, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Angel, take it away, bro.
Yes, definitely want to thank fans, Lorena for watching, and also Travis McMaster, who also has a question. Reading different business books like Leaders Eat Last, would you ever write a music business related book?
I suppose we could at some point.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I started kind of down this road a little bit with an article I started with for Control magazine called "Crowd Surfing Your Way Out of Hell," and it was really well received actually. And we ended up kind of like all the things that I was talking about that we were kind of trying to do and working on, and it was this very, very honest and open discussion about how the trials and tribulations of what we've been through and what we're dealing with and what we're doing to get through it. Well, all of it worked. And we ended up getting super fucking busy, going on multiple tours. Our crowdfunding campaigns were fucking a massive success. Everything like worked. It blew up. And I never really finished doing those articles, this series of articles that I kind of imagined at some point would become kind of like a book. And I had that in mind the whole time. And I don't know if Control is still around. I actually don't know if that's still a news pop culture entity anymore. But I have definitely thought about it. That one of the problems is just getting
time.
Time is just getting the time to do it is tough, because getting like focused time to sit down and do something is kind of a big deal. And you need that time when you sit down and like, I'm going to do a thing. Well, that thing better be fucking writing a new song, managing our business, or doing one of the myriad productive or production related things that we have to do Julien-K, Edema, and all the other shit that we are involved in. It's just a little bit of a bandwidth thing right now.
They also had a question about video games, and I didn't know how to answer it. Like, what do you have? What do you use?
Yeah, I play an Xbox. I have an Xbox One X. Yeah, and I'll get the new one when it comes out, whatever it is. That fucking little thing. I don't fucking care. They're like, is it going to be affordable? I don't give a fuck. I'll get it right now. Where is it? I play Borderlands right now a lot. I think Borderlands is a fucking great game. I haven't really been playing other games. I play Borderlands right now. That's what I play. I have some other games. I own some other games like Red Dead Redemption. That hasn't hooked me yet. It's a little bit of a deep dive. It's a little slow to kind of get. Fucking amazing game though. I played to the death. What did I play? What's the first game I got? I think I'm like sad that it's over. Oh God, what is the first game that I got that I had to get through?
Mortal Kombat?
Fallen Order. That's why I got that fucking Xbox, and I bought a new TV and everything. I have the fucking 4K OLED, fucking highest fucking dynamic range, as thin as a piece of fucking glass, fucking badass TV with the fucking Xbox One X. I redid the whole fucking gaming thing area, and I fucked that thing up. I fucking Fallen Order. Me and Mike Ransom, we're just fucking, oh my God, did you get the lightsaber this way, or did you get it right in the beginning? Because I fucking got it right in the beginning. We're just complete fucking nutters. But I'm really into Borderlands. I started with the Borderlands that was like a little bit more super high reviewed, a little bit lower, like maybe it's Borderlands 2. And then I discovered, like, wait a minute, I have an Xbox One X in 4K. What the fuck? And I discovered there's a new one, and I got that one. And I'm like, oh my God, this is madness. It's so fucking good. So good. So, yeah, there you go. There's my whole gaming commentary.
And a question from Leo Neal. Hey, have you guys ever seen a band on stage and you're like, fuck, I would give anything to play with them?
No, and yes. Depeche Mode. We would both love to play with Depeche Mode. 9 Inch Nails invited us to go watch them get ready for the Downward Spiral tour, and I think Trent was like, thought Orgy was cool, and one of our guys worked for Trent. And Orgy had used a lot of guys from the 9 Inch Nails crew because no one could really figure out how to do what the fuck Orgy was doing. So we got Prince guys and 9 Inch Nails guys, and they invited us to the what's that memorial fucking Coliseum little place that's on the side there, that's like the where Nine Inch Nails was doing pre-production. They rented the whole fucking thing for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they were getting ready for the Downward Spiral, and they had the big TV screens that were floating over them, and they leaned back and did all this cool shit. And we got to sit up in the, just, you know, kind of right over Nine Inch Nails, and they had a bunch of winners from K-Rock down below there, and he played for like 300 people. I wanted to quit music afterwards. It was so fucking good. I was just like fucking pussies. Like I was like, that show handed me my ass. I just couldn't. I don't even think I could have talked to Trent Reznor afterwards. I wanted to run out of the building and hide because I was like, fuck, man, how can you be that good? You know, and that and Cirque du Soleil Mystere just made me like want to just quit Orgy. I was like, what the fuck? You know, we're not going far enough.
Seeing the Daft Punk Pyramid.
Oh God, that was
fucking ridiculous.
That was incredible.
We actually got to see that in Mexico. Crazy enough, we were touring with Evanescence in Mexico, and Daft Punk was playing the place that we were playing the night before. The same promoter, so we got to go and see. We actually hung out with Daft Punk without all their stuff.
And Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, and they were there.
So
too.
What the fuck?
It was crazy. That was a crazy night. But that whole light show was just, that was ridiculous.
And our the guy that does our lighting, Martin Phillips, worked on that show, and so he's a guy that we work with in Orgy, and so we have this great long relationship. And he's done Kanye, he's done all the raddest light shows. I mean, Martin's like one of the guys that does this shit. He's amazing, and he still does our lights. Fucking awesome. Much smaller scale, but still really cool.
This small.
And we'll throw in the last two questions from fans. Zachary wants to know, what makes a good crowd? What makes you take notice and say this is going to be a good night?
Involved, just knowing the music, involved, you know, how loud they are, them singing the words, knowing the words better than I know them. All that kind of stuff is really, really great. You know, it's just really fun. You can tell.
You can tell when people are having a good time and getting into it, and that makes it way more fun for us.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they just stand there, and you know, that's always the worst.
Yeah, yeah.
And our music is not really meant to, you know, stand around and listen to. It's got a groove. There's a lot of dancey kind of stuff. You know?
Crowd that's jumping and dancing and headbanging is always going to be like, that's just a fantastic fucking night. I mean, there's nothing more fun. There's nothing more fun. That's why we do this. Because it hurts. It's hard. It doesn't always work out, but it's so fucking good when it does that it's worth all of it.
Forgot this question came from Lee towards Amir. How did you come up with your name?
Amir is my real name, obviously.
No, the name Julien-K or the name Amir?
Oh, the name Amir.
Oh, wow.
So when I was 5 or 6, my mom remarried, and I got adopted by my new dad, which his name was Davidson. So my name became Amir Davidson at that point. And later in life, when I was in bands and stuff, and probably my later teens, and my very first or second band, with everything that was going on in the 80s and everything, I was just like, Amir Davidson just doesn't sound like a cool name. You know, like Amir's cool. Like, it's a different name. Not a lot of Amirs out there. But like the second half of it just didn't seem to fit. So I went back to my original name, which is Gohar Darakhshan. It's like a Persian, it's a really long Persian name. And I decided that I was going to take the Derakh part out of that. So it would be Amir Derakh, right? But the funny thing is I really did that thinking like, well, my initials will be the same, AD, Amir Davidson, Amir Derakh. And it just kind of had a nice sound to it, you know, Amir Derakh. And I thought, oh, that sounds cool. It sounds like rock or whatever. And then and when my first band, we were in rehearsal, and my guitar player starts laughing like out loud onto the microphone. And I'm like, what the fuck is so funny? And he's like, dude, your name means I'm here to rock. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even fucking think of that. Like, I'm so dumb.
My name's fucking Amir.
You know, like, I just thought it sounded cool, but I didn't kind of put the dots together, right? And he pointed it out to me, and I was like, oh my God, Amir Derakh. He's like, oh, this is like, that's like the best name ever. So it just kind of stuck after that, you know. I just kind of rolled with it because at least then it was more Persian, a little more ethnic and different and more unique, which of course I like all of that stuff, and it just kind of created another persona for me, basically.
Cool. And now we got the last fan question, but before I do, just want to thank Linda Wilson for tuning in, and Shane as well. And now the last fan question from Bridget Sullivan. Bridget wants to know, other than your own songs, what songs get you hyped up for a show?
It really is just going to depend on, I mean, for me, I have a playlist that I actually shared on Patreon, like a secret playlist that I have, like 400 songs or something, like hours and hours and hours of music. And I'm always finding music that I like and adding it to either that playlist or other playlists. And so my musical tastes constantly evolve. And I think a lot of Amir's do too. But it would usually be the flavor of the day for us, like whatever the zeitgeist is in the world of Julien-K. Like I have been very into more goth, like, you know, a little bit more down tempo, kind of Norwegian, kind of minimal, dark wavy fucking shit is kind of what I've been kind of listening to. And when I'm listening to something, I think that's the shit. You know, fuck all your other shit, man. Are you fucking cool with my shit? So I think that's rad, and that gets me excited. So that's what I will play, because I just think I'm cutting edge, right? And I always want to feel like I'm cutting edge. I don't ever want to feel like I'm fucking listening to the shit everyone else is listening to. I always want to put on music where everyone's like, oh, fuck, what is that? Because I think I'm so fucking cool. And that's just my own little illusion that I do. But let Amir figure out what his is.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to a lot of different stuff, and it probably does depend on what the flavor of the week is. I think on last tour, we were listening to the Depeche Mode Ultra record a lot.
Yeah.
I love that record.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I love that Health record, that last Health record.
Oh yeah, we listened to that. Yep.
Our friends in Youth Code, that's another cool band.
Yeah.
I listened to a lot of, you know, also was listening a lot to a lot of 90s stuff, because I knew that for Harmonic Disruptor, I wanted to kind of infuse myself with a lot of that music, a lot of late 80s EBM and 90s industrial kind of stuff. I was listening to a lot of Front 242 and Nights Arab and what else? Ministry and fuck, I don't know. All that kind of stuff. So it just kind of depends on the mood and like what we're doing and what new band we stumbled upon that kind of, you know, kind of hypes us up, you know, kind of inspires us. That's usually what it is.
That's awesome. Right on.
Awesome.
Angel, do you have a final question of your own, my man?
Yes. When you guys put out a new record, how do you decide which songs to play live?
Yeah, that's usually it's actually pretty tricky. We kind of go around in circles with it a lot until like it's pretty much go time.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's always a little bit tough is you kind of never, because we don't really play live or write live. Typically, it's all studio programmed and kind of figured out as we're going along. But I mean, we have been doing this for a long time, and we kind of know what's going to work live, you know. But you don't really know a lot of times until you just actually play it, and then you kind of go, wow, this actually sounds pretty good, better than I thought. And then sometimes you play something and you're like, oh, this doesn't sound that good live. Like we're going to have to either change it you know, but that rarely happens.
It's usually the better part. Like we played Stronger without you the other day, and the whole band goes, oh, like afterwards, Biddy's all, oh, so this is going to be one of those songs, you know, because live it was like heavy as fuck, you know. And sometimes, you know, we because a lot of these songs are new, we're not playing everything perfectly yet.
Yeah.
We haven't had 10 shows yet, you know, so we're not like knocking it out of the park every time. But I think that one time we could tell what was going to happen when we had it like down.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be a fucking heavy song.
It's kind of tough. I mean, usually we end up kind of adding a lot of the new songs, and then they kind of get weeded out as we figure out, like, well, yeah, that one, I don't know about that one. But some of them, they stick around, you know, from obviously even from the earlier records. There's songs that have really stood the test of time that we just kind of can't seem to drop, because we just kind of feel like, well, I don't know, this is a really good song. It seems to always kind of work, like almost in any set we do. And like, we're lucky now that we have a lot of material, you know, so that actually makes it a lot better. We have a lot more to choose from.
Nice. That's really, really awesome. Jason, do you have anything final for yourself, my friend, for our guys?
What does, you probably get this question a lot, but what does the K stand for? And if you already mentioned it, I apologize.
No. It's Julien-K is basically, the name came from one of our favorite movies, American Gigolo. And we imagined, I think, in the beginning that maybe we would be DJs, because at the time we were very much an orgy. Orgy just wasn't doing anything, and we kind of didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We were continuing to make music. Is this orgy music? What is it? And Julien-K, I think Amir came up with it, and Julien-K A.Y. was Richard Gere's character in American Gigolo. And it's a really dark noir movie, and it just kind of fit the times. And we kind of imagine like an android version of that Julien-K, like a model of I don't know, of male hooker, of male gigolo, and I mean all of that, of male sexual servants or whatever, and it just
we kind of
worked.
It kind of just took the name as it would be, like, as a person's name, you know, Julian with an A, and like he said, it would either be K-A-Y or K-A-Y-E or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be like a normal name. And again, I wanted to kind of make it like a brand, but also distinctive, and also almost give it, like what he's saying, like a futuristic kind of approach.
There's a bit of a Blade Runner feel to it. Like,
Yeah.
it's a model of human. Julien-K. We didn't know which one are, you know, when people come up to us, are they going to go, hey, Julian, you know, because we created this new character, this new thing, and we wanted it to be different from Orgy.
Yeah.
So we were this different thing. We were a different model. We were doing something different. And I think that's where we created this fictional character and this band.
I used the French spelling of Julien just because it seemed cooler.
Yeah.
You know? Everything French is cooler.
Let's hope it doesn't.
That's awesome. And then just one more thing that I'll throw at you guys is like a final question, because the guys will all agree this is definitely a show built around positivity and stuff like that. We love the fans. We love what music does. And the fans would be curious to hear. So you guys did a band with Dead by Sunrise with Chester when he was an angel on earth before he became an angel above. I'm just going to say straight, like, what's your fondest memory of getting to work with Chester, whether it was recording, touring, or friendship? I would just love to hear your fondest memories of him.
He was a pretty pleasant guy to be around. He was a guy that made you fond of him, right? I mean, he was our little buddy. He was I keep saying little because honestly, in some ways, he was like our little brother, you know? He was cute as fuck. He was insanely talented. He was really funny. He actually loved people. He loved us. He loved, you know, as friends and family. He was just a very, very loving, rad human being. And then, you know, and in some ways very fragile, obviously. I mean, look what happened. In that fragility, you know, you had to kind of balance this incredible talent and this incredible performance and this incredible competitor. So you had that very unique mix of a human being. You know what I mean? We all kind of have it, I think, in music. I think a lot of us are a little bit fragile, and also, you know, we have talent and things like that we have to wield and use, and personality and all that kind of stuff. And he was just an incredible combination of all those things. I think a lot of fond memories would be him sitting right there on that couch and playing, I guess, the guitar right over there, and just, playing maybe a cool song idea, and then just launching into doing a cover of Linkin Park, but with all lyrics about poop and pee. And it was really fucking funny. And he would weave in and out of totally like good, serious songwriting and singing, and we'd be like, oh wow, fuck, Chester's really good. And then just morph it into the most ridiculous, fucking comical nonsense that you would ever hear, and just completely like keep a serious face, and then kind of like exaggerate his movements, and just act like a fucking ham sandwich. And he's just fucking. There's just a million stories like that. You know what I mean? It's just he's fucking.
I always remember like when Orgy actually took Linkin Park on tour. It was one of their early tours when they were just starting to break.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being in a dressing room probably about this, half the size of this room we're in right now. And we were probably sharing the dressing room.
Glamorous.
Orgy was headlining, and it was like Disturbed and Linkin Park was opening or something. It was like the most ridiculous tour, right? And I remember Chester coming in and being so excited. He's like, oh my God, they know all the words and like singing along with me. And I'm like, dude, you guys, you have a hit. You have a hit song. So, I mean, we were literally there to witness Linkin Park happening.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, and it was really cute. And the funny thing is, as big as they got and all that kind of stuff, it was like nothing ever changed with us and them. You know what I mean? Like, it was always, they were always really nice people. They were always like, I mean, obviously so many things they helped us and did for us and all of that kind of stuff that we're always grateful for. But it's like, it was fun to be there to see that happen, and especially for Chester to see, because he was just so like beside himself.
Absolutely. That's super duper cool. And I, myself, the guys, the fans, we all appreciate you guys touching on that topic, because it's never easy to lose a friend, and we appreciate it for sure. Right on. But hey guys, it's getting towards that top of the hour. This has definitely been a long running show. And Ryan, Amir, we totally appreciate you for it. But for the fans out there, go out and get it. Harmonic Disruptor, the new album for Julien-K. 2 days from now, go and watch them on the Monsters of Rock cruise. They're fucking great. They're great guys. We appreciate their time. But thank you so much, as always, for tuning into the Metal Summit. Metal Summoners, we love you. If you ever feel like giving up, you ever feel like you're the last one on earth, dudes, chicks, you guys have come to the right place. This show is for you. We love you guys. We will always catch you. For Jason, for Angel, I'm Jay. Signing off for Psycho Steve. Thank you again, Ryan, Amir. Guest announcement coming up shortly, and we will see you guys next week on the Metal Summit.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah.
You are listening to the Metal Summit, your source for all things rock and roll.